Well, hi, all of you, and thanks a million for joining us in this new series where we're going to go through the workbook of A Course in Miracles one lesson at a time. I've been through it a lot, and I always love it to go back and start all over again because it's, as everyone knows, a new circumstance every time you do. And for those who may not know, I will tell you my credentials. I am in my 40th year with A Course in Miracles. I was one of the first students, one of the first teachers, and my life has really been devoted to not only practicing learning. There was too much learning in the beginning and not enough practicing, and that's what we're going to talk about. But every imaginable way of approaching this material and presenting it, I've been through over these years. And one of the things that I see over and over and over, no matter if I'm in this country, in another country, I see a common mistake. And that is to try to understand this material rather than practice it. And you might say, oh, well, there isn't such a big difference. Actually, there is a huge difference. So our year is going to be devoted to practice. Why to practice? What happens when you practice? What can you expect from all of this? And then from that, learning will happen. There's a place in the course where it says basically, this is to paraphrase, that joy and peace and understanding are all a package deal. And so it says, if you were not experiencing joy and you were not experiencing deep peace, presume you understand nothing, which is a very big statement that no ego wants to hear. But it's very helpful. It kind of clears the deck because you can say, probably clearly, I am not at peace and I am not joyful all the time. So, okay, I'm willing to get it that perhaps I don't yet understand everything. If you did understand everything, this course would not need to exist. So understanding comes as a result of practice, not before. So this very first preface to the lesson says, in effect, you don't have to like these, you don't have to understand them, you don't have to know how they work. You can actually intellectually resist them if you want to. That says none of that will matter at all. That if you actually do precisely and exactly what it says to do, you'll get results. Now, what I have heard people say over and over again is they apparently don't take those instructions to heart. So they'll say, well, I looked at these first lessons, which clearly are crazy. I mean, how could this make any sense to say that what's here I'm looking at doesn't mean anything? So over and over, I hear people say, so I've just skipped over these first 50 lessons or so because they don't make any sense to me. Of course, they don't make any sense to you. That's the whole point of having lessons. The Course says everything you believe, what you understand, your values, everything are upside down and backwards. So it presents itself as a mind training course. Now, mind training converts to rewiring your brain, because to say change your mind, the mechanics of that mean rewire your brain through focusing on something else besides what you're focusing on now. So the Course presents this brilliant step-by-step, takes you by the hand and says, okay, start here. Step 1. We're going to provide you with information, and you don't know how it works, and you don't need to know how it works. You just need to know that it works. And the end result will be rewiring your brain, which will result in a different default set of thoughts and beliefs and thus actions. And that's going to result in a different emotional state, a different feeling state, where more and more and more you approach joy and peace and feeling settled and feeling safe. Most people do not feel safe, and fear and lack of safety drives most of what we do. So we don't want it to drive most of what we do anymore. So keeping all that in mind, we're going to take a look at the first lesson, which says, nothing I see in this room or in your car or in your yard or in the grocery store or wherever you happen to be means anything. Now, the first thing that comes up is that your ego mind will say, that's really stupid. Of course this means something. This is important. This is my house. These are my kids. This is my body, or whatever. And it says, practice, don't judge these lessons. Just apply the idea. Look at the wall. This wall doesn't mean anything. Look at the stop sign if you're out driving your car. This stop sign doesn't mean anything. Or something a block away that you happen to see doesn't mean anything. They're not arranged in any order, as it says. You can randomly pick out anything. It can be animate, inanimate. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you do not exclude anything. In other words, you might be willing to say, this wastebasket doesn't mean anything, but I'm not willing to say, my body doesn't mean anything. It says you are not in a place at step one of recognizing that indeed they are equally meaningless. Nobody gets this in the beginning. That's the whole point of doing this. It means that you need to be indiscriminate. It also says, now don't do this more than a couple times a day, because your resistance to this is going to be so high that we don't want you to burn out on lesson one. So it says, approach this casually. Just be easy about it. Just have that thought. What I see doesn't mean anything is the tiniest first little step in rewiring your brain and thus sorting out what is meaningful, what is not, what is important, what is not, what is valuable, what is not, because it assures us that right now we're very unclear and very confused about that. So I hope you will do this. I hope you will see that this is greatly to your best interests to practice, and don't spend one bit of time trying to figure out what this could possibly mean, that this doesn't mean anything. Don't do that. Stick with practice. That's the fastest way you will get there. I talk to people who say, I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 25 years. And then they will proceed to ask me a question that lets me know they've been studying and studying and studying for 25 years, but they have not been practicing to allow this rewiring of the brain to take place. So take advantage of this marvelous companion piece. Let it take you by the hand. Do what it says. It knows, our ego minds do not. So have a beautiful, tiny little short practice, which is all this asks of us. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll look forward to our being together tomorrow. Bye.